Okay, today we're starting a new chapter and a new section, and this is chapter 2-1 on fractions and decimals. So to start, we have some vocabulary words today. I want you to make sure you copy these into your math journal. They're super important. And let's get started. A rational number. Does anybody know what a rational number is?
No. I know it's a number.
A real number?
It's a number.
That's a good answer.
Maybe with some like dots or like minus or plus or divide things on it.
So rational numbers, an easy way to think about them are numbers that can be written as fractions. Okay, so write that down on your paper. Fractions, but they're a special kind of fraction. They're a fraction that when you divide it out, the decimal has an end, or it repeats. It doesn't go on forever. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. So rational numbers, fractions, and also decimals that end or repeat. So I'm going to write that here. Decimals that end or repeat. Okay? Terminating decimal is this one here, a decimal that ends. So if I write it with words, I'm going to say a decimal that ends. And if I write it with pictures, if I show you some examples of a terminating decimal, that would be a decimal that just has one or a few numbers after it. It does not go on forever. Have you guys ever heard of pi? So pi is a decimal, and it's called an irrational decimal because it goes on forever, and it has no pattern and nothing in it repeats ever.
I put it on the wrong place.
So they've done like all these studies on pi, and they found that it goes out to like hundreds of thousands of numbers, and they never have found a pattern. So that is irrational, and today we're just talking about rational ones, decimals that end. Now a repeating decimal is also a rational number. So a repeating decimal looks like this. When you multiply it on your calculator, it'll say all the way to the end of your screen till it runs out of room. That's a repeating decimal because guess what? That 3 keeps repeating forever. So when we have a repeating decimal like that, there's a special way to write it. And let me give you one more example though. A repeating decimal can also repeat more than one number. We could repeat 865, 865, 865 forever. Okay? So it can repeat anything as long as it's repeating. And bar notation is a shorter way to write repeating decimals. So bar notation, instead of writing all those 3's, I'm just going to write 1 3 with a bar on top. The bar tells me that that 3 keeps repeating. So if I want to write this one with bar notation, I'm going to just write the part that keeps repeating, 865, but guess what? All 3 numbers are going to get a bar on top of them because those are the numbers that repeat. I'm going to do one more. We could have 0.262626 forever. And to write it with bar notation, just write one set of 2 6 with the bar on top. Okay? Copy that down. So on page 65, we're going to go over some examples now. And the directions say, write each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. So I have to figure out how do I write a fraction as a decimal. What does fraction mean? What operation?
5.
Yes, excellent. Remembering, fractions mean divide. So if I have a fraction, I could just divide it and I'll get a decimal. So who has their calculator?
Me.
Can you divide 4 divided by 5? And tell me what you got.
0.8.
0.8. So in your calculator, if you go 4 divided by 5, you're going to get 0.8. Did you get it? You didn't try it. Try it, see if you get the same thing.
4.
Remember, whatever I'm writing down, I want you to write down as well. So copy all these problems into your math journal.
Oh yeah, I got 0.8.
Yay! Okay, so let's look at the next one because it's a little bit different. It has a whole number and a fraction. When I have a whole number and a fraction, the whole number I'm going to write before the decimal. So I'm just going to bring the 4 down and put the decimal after it. And then I'm going to divide the fraction again. So what is 3 divided by 8?
375.
So I'm going to write just the part after the decimal after the decimal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So notice I left the 0 out. Because I don't have 0, I have 4. So write this one down in your notes. And what would this one be? 1 divided by 3.
-1.
Negative something. But you have to do 1 divided by 3 in your calculator.
Oh, I did.
Negative 0.333333333.
Ah, so if it's repeating, what can I do?
Just put 3 down.
Just put a 3?
Actually, no.
Oh,
Put 2 3s.
but I have, okay, 2 3s. What do I do if it repeats?
Do it again.
I could write a bunch of 3s here, but look, I'll run into number 7. I don't have room for all those 3s. Look at your notes. What did we do when a number repeats?
We abbreviated it.
We did something to it.
We said 0.33.
We put something special on it though. Look at number 4. What did we
Bar.
put? Yes, the bar. So I can just write 1 3 and put the bar on top. That shows me that that 3 keeps repeating on the calculator
You
forever.
told me that before I did that.
I was asking you. You should have been looking at the notes.
Wait, hold on, I messed up again.
Okay.
What was number 5?
I'm going to pause for 1 second. Okay. Number 7 is 7 and 5 over 33. So what do I do with this big 7?
You put it down and you add a dot at the end.
That's right. I put it down and then I put my decimal. Now what do I do?
You have to divide by 33, which is
5 divided by 33?
0.151515.
Ooh, okay.
Wait.
Remember, I'm going to leave the 0 off because I have a 7.
It says 0.151515152.
The 2 is because it's rounding the 5. But it would keep repeating the 1 5.
The line beyond the
Yeah. So since the 15 keeps repeating, we're going to put the bar notation. Copy all those down, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the next section says, write each decimal as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. So today we're going to start by just writing it as a fraction or a decimal. We're not going to worry about simplest form right now. It's not as hard as it sounds, because, you know, going from a fraction to a decimal is easy because you just divide it on the calculator, right? But going from a decimal to a fraction is a little bit different, and let me show you how to do it. You look, first of all, whatever number is after the decimal is the top number in your fraction. So I'm going to write the 6 as my top number. To find the bottom number, I'm just going to write a 10. So however many digits past the decimal I went, that's how many zeros I need to have under here. So if I had something like that, then I would write the top number, and I would write 2 zeros this time because I have 2 places after the decimal. Does that make sense? And if I had 3, I'm going to write the top number down, and I would have how many zeros? 3 zeros.
I was yawning.
So we're always writing some form of tens. If it's one number, it's 1 0. Bella, are you with me?
Yes.
If it's 2 numbers, it's 2 zeros. If it's 3 numbers,
3.
yeah.
Wait, then how do we know the ones that repeat?
Ah, that is a great question. So the ones that repeat are a little bit different, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But this one's also a little bit different because what does it have?
2.
Oh, I know
It
it.
does have 2, but what
Oh, it's
else?
negative. So
It has a negative, and what else does it have?
3 numbers.
It has a whole number in front of the decimal. Remember we talked about that in front of the decimal number? So that one, I'm just writing down. The big number gets written down. And then you put a fraction next to it with whatever's after the decimal. So I have how many digits after the decimal? 2. So write those on top. So 2 zeros on the bottom is correct. So this becomes -1 and 55 over 100. Now on to the bar notation. And this one isn't hard either. When there's a bar notation, first I'm going to bring down the negative so I don't forget it. You still write this number on top. So what's our top number? 5. And the bottom, instead of writing a 10 this time, I'm going to write one less than that. It's a 9. So anytime there's bar notation, we're writing 9s on the bottom. If I had 2 numbers,
it would be 9.
it would be 9. Yes! Starbucks for Bella. Okay, so 2 numbers, 2 9s. If I have 3 numbers, what would it be?
9.
3 9s.
Imagine if it was infinite. 9.
That'd be a lot of 9s. Okay, so bar notation. Oh, I forgot my bars, guys. My bad. So bar notation has 9s on the bottom. However many digits past the decimal, that's how many 9s.
But where's the bar?
Regular decimals have 10s on the bottom. However many digits after, that's how many zeros you put.
But on the next number 10, there can be the bar with 5 too.
On this, no. The bar is only when it's written in decimal form. That's a good question. So when I write it as a fraction, the bar goes away. Does that make sense? Okay. So for the last one, what would I write? We have something tricky going on.
Is that a T? Or what? Oh, 1.
2.1 with the bar notation.
Okay, so you put a 1 down.
Okay.
And then you put, well, obviously the line I do with that.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
She got part of it. Do you know the rest of it, Cameron?
But 2.
Where?
Next. Wait, bigger than the 1 and 9.
Yes, that was great teamwork. Remember, the number in front is the big number, and then the rest is the fraction. Good job, guys. Starbucks all around, and for you too, Tiffany.